Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Kira Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Mike McHale on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you doing today?
We did a little small talk here before we started recording. You definitely have that Philly style. The accent, the speed, the mannerisms. It's there. Just so you know.
Yeah, I was born and raised in between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, northeastern PA. So when you think about how we grew up going to New York City and going to Philly. So we have, it's almost equidistant. So it's 2 hours to Philly, 2 hours to New York City.
Gotcha.
So we were exposed to kind of that world. But we have a lot of immigrants, came into this area through New York or through Philly. So you have a lot of the same kind of the same culture and the same history.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have that northeastern speed. I like it.
Yeah, we're pretty fast. It's pretty fast up here.
I remember I grew up in Oklahoma. My wife grew up in Texas, and it's a little slower pace, as you know.
Yes.
And we got moved to Connecticut, and back in the early 2000s, I had upstate New York, Connecticut, Mass, some of Jersey as a territory. And it's a whole nother speed, a whole nother culture. It's just completely different.
Yeah, it's a little faster pace, right? A little faster.
My boss told me, he said, Steve, you know why we're in such a hurry up here? And I said, no, why is that? And he goes, because we're all freezing to death. It's like, we're just cold.
You could probably say that. You can't freeze when you're moving.
That's right. So you grew up in Philly. Tell me about your family. I want to know mom, dad, siblings. Give me a little background if you don't mind. Or you grew up outside of Philly, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I grew up in Duryea, Pennsylvania, which is dead center between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre in northeastern PA. So it's kind of a small but large area. It's about a million inhabitants between the two regions. It's about 20 minutes between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. Okay. So grew up here, high school here locally. And then I went to Drexel for college. I have two younger brothers that are 8 years and 10 years younger than me. So that was a little different growing up because by the time they were, 8 years old, I was already off to college. So the upbringing was, small town, ride your bike, play a lot of sports. Yeah. That was pretty much it.
And same mom and dad for your younger brothers, and they just had kids later. Was there a switch there?
Same parents. They just had me when they were quite a bit younger.
I see.
Yeah, so they had me when they were 19 and 20 respectively. So
I see. Okay. And then after they got got a little stable, they're like, okay, now we can have some more.
Yeah, and they probably were really questioning whether they should have another kid after having me for 8 years alone. It was probably questioning.
Were you a rebel? Were you a good kid, bad kid? Like where were you in the mix?
Relatively a good kid. I didn't really get in much trouble. It was my life pretty much revolved around sports. I didn't do much other than play some sort of ball. Mediocre student. Didn't really excel. Didn't really. I was in honors classes, but I didn't really care much about school.
Yeah, I got you. So you graduated with like what, like a 2.9 or something?
No, probably 3.5, 3.6, something like that. It wasn't
Oh, okay.
terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
wasn't terrible, but I wasn't setting the world on fire.
The average CEO, I can't remember the stat. Like the average GPA for CEOs is somewhere between like 2.8 and 3.3 or something like that. Like none of them are 4.0 students most of the time.
Yeah, that was my college. College was I just didn't mesh in college when it came to the education.
Okay.
So I think I graduated 2.8, 2.9, 2.7,
Okay.
somewhere in that realm.
Okay.
Not great. I was a BC student.
Did you do some intramurals in school sports?
Yeah,
No.
basketball, baseball, got really heavy in the weightlifting and some other things. But
Are you?
no,
Oh,
I
all
didn't
right.
play. I didn't play anything collectively in college.
No. Okay. All right. What'd your folks do? Your mom and dad?
My father was a construction manager through my youth, and my mom was it was a stay-home mom until my brothers got a little older, and then she worked some part-time jobs here or there, nothing major.
Construction manager in the Northeast. Okay. Your dad's a no nonsense, straight shooter guy. I'm guessing he probably doesn't beat
Yeah,
around the bush too much.
no, I mean we kind of grew up in a very hands-on family. So we have a heavy paper we have a very heavy paper and pulp background in our
Oh,
history. So a lot
I
of
see.
family members, there's a lot of paper and pulp here in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area.
Okay.
So my grandfather was at the paper mill. My father ended up at the paper mill, and then moved on from there. But then we did a lot of stuff at two or three of the local paper mills. So
Mm,
and
mm,
that's a tough way of life. 24 hours a day,
mm-hmm,
7 days a
mm-hmm.
week. Emergencies. When the paper machine's not running, you're not making money.
Was your dad tough? Was he tough?
Yeah, I don't think he worked a lot and he traveled a bunch. My mother was probably tougher than he was.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah, mom was probably tougher
Okay.
than dad was. So a lot of that parenting came from her with the threat of him, but he never really had to do anything because it was the threat of her.
Did you ever get any major trouble in high school or college? Any arrest record? You want anything you want to confess about right now?
N-
Now's your time. Now's the time.
No, no, not much. I mean, when you're from a small town, small area, everyone knows who you are, so you don't really get in trouble. You get reprimanded before you get in trouble. So we never had any of those type of problems.
Okay. All right. You're about 10 years younger than me, I think, roughly. I'm going to guess you're, well, what, 47, 48, 46?
I'm 49.
You're 49. Okay.
Yep, yep.
But you're old enough to where you probably didn't wear a helmet when you rode your bicycle in the neighborhood, I'm guessing.
No helmets.
Yeah.
That may make sense to some of my problems today.
Sometimes I don't know how I get this in my feed now, my social media feed. I must have looked at one picture, you know how the algorithms work. And now I'm getting all those photos of the kids in the 70s and early 80s were riding bikes in the neighborhood. And I always think to myself, it was a totally different world.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Nobody's
I mean,
nobody's wearing knee pads on skateboards. Nobody's wearing helmets. None of that.
no, and I mean here, we lived and died by our bike because that's how we
Oh
got
yeah.
around. It's a hilly mountainous area.
Boom. I got you.
And nowadays you don't see any kids on bikes in this area, which is weird because I'm sitting about 1,000 yards from my childhood home. So not much, you don't, not much of what we had growing up is still left.
Right. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. It's a totally different world. You married with kids now? What's your status?
Married to my wife, Judy, no kids.
No kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't want to have any. Is that a touchy subject? Is that a sore?
Nah, nah, life just sort of passed by. Um, the career kind of took over. I traveled a bunch and, before you know it, you're 49 years old and,
Uh-huh.
you kind of, just was a blur.
Okay. What's your wife do?
Uh, she's a concierge jeweler, so she does high-end concierge jewelry.
What advises people
So,
on it,
advises, sells. So if you want you need an engagement ring or something, she brings the
yeah,
rings right to your house. Very concierge, um, very
interesting.
high end. Yeah, it's an interesting. She was working for a jewelry company a bunch of years ago, but when you're in retail, you have to work on weekends. That
Yeah.
didn't really work with my schedule.
Hmm.
So she transitioned to this about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and she enjoys it. She plays a lot of pickleball, and she sells jewelry on the side.
Because the pickleball is not only keeps her in shape, but she meets clients, and that's good for networking and all the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's any better networking opportunity today than pickleball.
Right? Especially if you're over 40.
I don't even know if it's an over 40 thing. I'm seeing that progress down now into the 20s, where we
Oh,
have
oh,
employees that are working for us that are starting to play pickleball. I,
oh,
I so I think that marketing, and if you are marketing into a higher net worth clientele, pickleball is a great way.
oh, no
Uh,
doubt.
everyone's active, everyone's out. There's a lot of socializing with it. I think it's probably the next great marketing opportunity for most people.
You know what? I need to join a league. I think I need to join a league or a club or
Yeah,
whatever they're called.
I
But,
I think it's important. You meet a lot more people than you do if you golf. When you
interest.
golf, you spend 4 hours alone with two or three other people. With
Mm,
pickleball, you're playing with 20 people, 25 people. Then there's events.
mm.
There's a lot of marketing opportunities if you're a small type local business.
There's your tip of the day, listeners, right there. There's some good networking activity. Okay, very good. And what do you do to stay in shape, my friend? You look like you're still in pretty good shape. You mentioned you were athletic when you were younger.
Yeah, yeah. No, I still I hike, I walk, I lift weights, and I play pickleball. So I try to work out 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours a day is
Okay,
my goal.
all right, all
Yeah.
right. Is that in the mornings? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I get up in the morning and I do a walk or a hike in the mornings. I used to do a lot of running, but I've had a hip replacement, so running doesn't really work well with a fake hip. So I do that, and then usually at lunchtime or at the end of the day, I'll go to the gym and lift.
Okay, very good. Good for
Yeah,
you, man. All right. Yeah, you look like you're in pretty good shape.
yeah.
I'm,
I
I,
I think
go ahead.
I think for entrepreneurs or CEOs or C-suite, y- being able to be mentally sharp and physically fit does help with the amount of stress and hours that's required to be an entrepreneur, C-suite person. Um, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. And if you're not taking care of your body, your mind doesn't follow as well. I find that I function better, function clearer when I'm feeling better.
No doubt about it. Yes, I could not agree more. You really, and it's such a high stress job. If you've never been at the C-level position, I ran a couple of $40 million companies as a C-level guy before I started Riderflex. And yeah, it's unless you've actually done it, you don't quite understand the amount of stress in the
Yeah.
position, right? And if you're not getting a little exercise or even the whole meditation part of it, right? The psychological part of it for me is healthy. It's my time to just kind of meditate and all that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think I was actually having this conversation this morning with a business consultant, and I'm always listening to books or podcasts and
Hmm.
education.
Hmm.
And I think we all find that we fall into the trap of we're trying to learn all the time. So instead of going on your walk or your run in the morning and maybe not listening to something, I find that I'm listening to a book or a podcast while I'm doing my workout.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
and I don't necessarily think that that's great. I think you need some time to kind of just listen to nature around you and reconnect a little bit so you could think clearer. Um, we're always rushing. So we're always rushing to learn. We're rushing in every aspect of the business. And sometimes you just have to listen to the birds chirp and the crickets go a little bit, kind of clear
Hmm.
your mind. And that's meditation to me. I have a hard time with the meditation. I try to sit in bed and stretch. but I struggle with that 5 or 10 minutes of sitting there not doing anything. That's hard, really hard.
Yeah, when I said meditation, for me, I guess everybody's definition is different. Yeah, I do mean like on the hikes, or I do mean, doing something where I'm not looking at my laptop. Isn't that interesting you bring that up? What a great man. So I have started in the mornings. So yes, I'm either listening to a podcast while I'm on the bike, or I'm on the treadmill, or whatever, or I'm Coursera. I'm trying to stay up with courses on AI and things, and I'm listening to taking courses. And so I'm like you, right? I'm like, how can I multitask here?
Yeah.
But I will force myself, like the last 20 minutes or so, I will turn my stuff off and just try not to listen to anything, because I think that's important. And I do that too. Really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a struggle because we're too connected now.
Yeah.
And we're always we think we have to learn every moment. And that's I think we're burning ourselves out by the constant connection to something.
Mm.
Even if it's not work, that learning is a bit of the same struggle, because you're learning and you're trying to figure out, while you're learning, how do I use this in the business?
Right. Well, a lot of people now, me and you are cut a little differently than some people. So some for us, right? That what you said is true, but a lot of people are not cut from the same work ethic, my friend. It's
Yeah.
a lot of people will goof off every day.
Yeah,
But
but you know what? I'm a bit envious. I think I wish there could be a little more goof off. um, I think the other thing,
uh,
as a C-suite entrepreneur, if you make yourself so tired during the day that when you
yes,
get in bed you sleep, the better off you are. So I tend to sleep way better when I spend a couple hours working out than if I don't. It's
yes.
hard to sleep. It's hard to sleep when you're not exhausted. If you're exhausted, you'll go right to sleep.
It's you know what, I know there's really people out there with insomnia or whatever. Like, I guess that's real, but I say that all the time to my kids. All my kids are grown now. And my wife too, I didn't sleep last night. And here's what I do. That's the first thing I say is, what time did you get up? And then they'll say like, oh, I got up at like 7 or something. And I'm thinking, okay, I get up at 4:30. Like, all
Yeah.
right, mistake number one, you slept till 7. Okay. And then I was like, did you do any exercise today? No, I didn't do any exercise. Okay. Well, tell you what, get up at 4:30, work a 12-hour day, and do some exercise. I can almost guarantee you won't have a problem going to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. And I know when I travel, sometimes it's hard to get a workout in. Like this morning,
Yeah.
I had to travel this morning, so I didn't get a workout in this morning, and I'm dreading tonight, because I really won't have time, because my last meeting doesn't end until about 7 o'clock tonight. So I'm
Oh
like,
man.
I'm kind of screwed.
A full day. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good tips. Though,
Yeah.
really good tips. So, graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. What did you want to do? What was the plan, Mike? Were you thinking, I'm going to be a C-level suite guy someday? What was the plan?
No, I really I honestly wanted to be in the construction business.
Okay,
So that's how
follow
I
your
ended
dad.
up.
All right.
Yeah, kind of. I grew up in the trades, and I kind of wanted to follow that footprint. So I ended up working at Procter and Gamble for a couple of years, for
Okay.
some big expansions they had at the large mill they have here in Mahoopany, Pennsylvania.
Good
And then
experience.
I ended up in Philly working for LF Driscoll, one of the largest construction companies in the city. So that was a great experience, and that propelled me into the casino development world, and then that propelled me into kind of the entrepreneurial private equity side of my resume. So I think and honestly, even to the core of what PSA is as an automation and robotics company, we're still a builder. So it carried in a lot of the things I learned along the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. When was your first entrepreneurial gig? What was that?
Um, my first one, I went to work for a company called BlackGold Biofuels. It was a private
Oh,
equity startup.
okay.
That was really the first entrepreneurial small business that I'd worked for.
Okay.
So that's what propelled me. I learned a bunch about finance and private equity when I was at the Revel Casino in Atlantic City, and that kind of helped start that fire. But, I didn't have that entrepreneur bug in my 20s and 30s. That sort of hit me, you know, in my later 30s,
Okay.
that I wanted to do something on my own.
Okay. Was your functional expertise ops? Were you always an operations guy just to
Yes.
execute? Yep.
Yeah, pretty much ops. I wasn't the sales guy. I was the ops guy. So I would have
Yeah.
been from, COO level down on the operational side.
Were you like that when you were younger? Just you get things done, execution, planning, organizing, just leading people,
Yeah.
just boom, boom, boom. That was you.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty much me.
Yeah.
If I really look back now, um, my core competency probably has never really changed.
Okay.
I think it changes as you become an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
because the scope of what you do has to become larger. I
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately probably do way less operational work today, and I do more vision and
Oh, you have
banking
to.
and
Yeah.
CFO things. So it changes, but you still use the base, operational experience
Sure.
as you grow the business.
I think the best CEOs, and I was an ops guy too, so I'm biased here, but I've just seen a lot in my old age. The best CEOs usually come from operations versus sales or finance or marketing because they just get shit done. It's
Yeah,
they just make sure the train is on time and they're getting stuff done. Now the downside can be if they don't flip to enough strategy and vision and they're so focused on execution that they don't lift their head up to see strategy and vision. But a good board and good mentors can help an ops guy, move into that stage. Have you
yeah,
felt yourself doing that now as a CEO?
yeah. I mean, I think it's been out of necessity. As we've grown the business from, under $1 million of revenue in 16 to over 50 million this year,
Wow.
you sort of flip and you realize that you can't operate your way out of a balance sheet problem or out of a cash flow problem, that you really need to focus more on the business of the business than the operations of the business.
Hmm.
I've learned that probably a little later than I would have liked to, and didn't hire enough accounting finance people to help along the way. So I've struggled my way through it.
Okay.
It's paid off, but it's been incredibly stressful to do it that way. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of operational CEOs miss the value of this the CFO and the strategy along the way. I didn't really have, we've had a good strategy here at PSA. I think what we were missing was a better financial strategy, and we've added on a a professional strategy, um, with 7 habits inside of the firm. Wish we had started the 7 habits and some of the culture
Hmm.
work sooner.
Hmm.
Um, but I think COVID really pushed us further in that direction. If we'd started it sooner, our culture would have been better sooner. And now it's really good. So I think I've learned that along the way.
Okay.
I would have definitely focused on finance sooner.
Mm. When you joined, did you join as VP of Ops?
Uh, I actually purchased the company in 2016. So when I
Okay.
had
Okay.
VP of apps, that was really when I came in, when I bought the business, I was to not upset some of our existing clientele. I listed myself as the VP of ops, but we bought the business in 16.
Okay. Walk me through. I did
Yeah.
not know that. I did not know. I'm looking at your
Yeah.
LinkedIn profile. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to raise capital? You got some investors. What's the makeup of the ownership?
We're actually, we bought the business with one other partner, and we had an SBA loan.
Good
So
for you, man.
I've grown this business here with basically no funding, almost no capital into the business, which is also a struggle as an entrepreneur. In today's world, where private equity and venture capital is pushing so hard,
Hmm.
um, this is an incredibly capital intensive business, um, and doing it out of cash flow and very little banking created a lot of difficulty. We could have probably grown faster and grown a little bit more stably if we had a better financial plan. And that's where I go back to say I wish I concentrated on the finances sooner than just the X's and O's of making money.
Yeah, but you went from 1 million to 50 million in 8 years. That's pretty good, Mike.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that the team hasn't done an excellent job here. What I'm saying is it could have been a lot smoother, and probably could have gotten there faster if we
Okay.
were better capitalized.
Have you raised cash ever?
No, no, I've
You
never,
never. Wow.
never
So
raised cash.
you and one other person put in some cash along with that SBA loan. Boom. That was it. You've never raised any other capital,
No other capital.
and you've taken it from 1 million to 50 million. Holy shit. Okay. Let's just let that breathe for a minute, Mike. That's pretty good. I mean, listen,
No.
I've had over 450 entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs on the show. Not very many people can say, I bought a business that was doing $1 million. I didn't have to raise a bunch of cash and I took it to 50 million. And now I'm assuming, obviously, you're cash flow positive, you're turning out profits and things are good. I'm assuming.
We are cash flow positive. Cash flow is always a problem with this type of growth.
Yeah,
Just because you're always churning more cash in the business. So
sure.
to go from, from 12 million to 16 million to 20 million to 50 million, you just have to think about the amount of cash required on a
Yeah.
30 to 60-day window. You're constantly doubling and tripling the amount of required cash inside the business. And we're a capital heavy business. So we have 25 CNCs and water jets and welders, and we're a full custom machine shop as well. So we have all of that. We've also moved now. We have 3 locations. We have 100,000 square foot worth of manufacturing here in Duryea. So that's all been added through cash flow from the business, and then the fit out of all of those properties.
Did
So
you
it's
buy
been,
do you own the properties, Mike?
yeah, we own properties. Yep.
Do you
Yeah,
own
we
the
bought.
properties as a separate LLC, like you and your partner,
So,
and then the
yep,
yep.
yep, separate LLC.
Good for you. Good
But
job.
but then the real problem there is what entrepreneurs forget is when you move from a 20,000 square foot building, and then you expand to 100,000 square foot, and you add all those people, that's a ton of infrastructure. It's
Yes.
electrical wiring, it's piping, it's welders, it's tables, it's equipment, it's screwdrivers and drills and equipment. And so we have probably pushing $8 to $10 million worth of capital equipment here inside the business. That's all
Wow.
been paid for through cash flow
Did you have to
inside the
borrow?
business.
Surely you had to take lines of credit or loans out for this stuff.
Yeah. So we have a line of credit on the business, a
Okay.
fairly small line of credit
Okay.
that equates to about, at this point, about 30% of our
Okay.
monthly accounts receivable.
All right.
And have pulled out some capital lines on our equipment. That's
Okay.
never been more than about $1.1 million. So
Okay.
right now we're less than half of that in total capital. So from a balance sheet perspective, you can look great but be dying on cash flow.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
the old age. It's the old age entrepreneur problem. You could be
Yes.
making money, but you're going broke on this at the same time. And we've gotten into a
Uh,
couple of business lines that require significant inventory
ah,
to sell into. So we've also added several $1 million worth of required inventory into
yes.
our ordinary business. So
Ah.
that also struggles on cash flow. And then we have government contracts, and they're hard to get the contracts, and they're slow paying.
Oh my
So
gosh. Yes.
it's a constant struggle. I don't think if there's any entrepreneur that tells you, I never worry about the cash because it's always
Oh hell.
there,
Well, yeah. Please.
that's probably a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. My CF or my the people who run all my numbers, they always get mad at me. Well, not mad, but they're always frustrated. They get all the financials ready or whatever, and they want to open up the income statement, the balance sheet right away. And the first thing I do is like, look, I just show me the cash flow first. Let's just show me the 13-week cash flow.
Yeah,
I want to look
yeah,
at that first, then I'll look at the other stuff.
yeah. It's
Uh,
it's hard because we're driven into a private equity venture capital world.
mm,
So the answer to everyone's always wants to know what's your EBITDA and what do you trade on
yeah,
EBITDA.
My
as an
EBITDA,
entrepreneur.
my EBITDA as an entrepreneur is whatever I want it to be because I do things in November and December to make it be a certain number most of the time.
Yeah, see, that's tough in our business because that's not how our business operates as a
Okay.
as a as a kind of a project based company. You don't
Okay.
really have that opportunity.
Yeah, I see.
As a consultant, you can play those games. As
Yeah. Yeah.
for our business and how we cash flow and our needs and cash flow, we're an industrial and
Okay.
we run on a multiple of EBITDA. Unfortunately, if you're, as most entrepreneurs, you're chasing that EBITDA number, but you're also paying interest and other things on the bottom line that's affecting your net cash flow.
Sure.
And that's always a struggle. So it's a delicate balancing act of driving your EBITDA, but keeping enough in your checking account to actually pay your bills on an ongoing basis.
Are you focused on your EBITDA as in I want to make my EBITDA attractive enough to sell this thing someday, or I just want my EBITDA to be healthy so I can keep going, or both?
I think, as an entrepreneur, you have to be doing both because you're
Okay.
being evaluated by banks. You're being evaluated by non-traditional lenders.
Okay.
Some of those non-traditional lenders are looking at your EBITDA because they're
Mm-hmm.
looking at taking some of the bottom line items.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts right now as an entrepreneur is banking. Banking in this environment in a lumpy business and a high capital demand business is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And you're balancing all of it. That's the fight that you have to figure out. Can you be traditional or can you be non-traditional? And do you have an exit strategy or are you planning on holding on to this business for generations? I think there's a definite distinction in the business.
Which one are you right now? If you had to pick, if you had to force rank them?
I'm running the business to be able to raise capital to grow the business bigger. So
Okay.
that's
All right.
the EBITDA. So
all right.
I want to, the goal here is that, we had a $50 million 5-year plan 2 years ago. So we
Okay.
got our 50 million. Now we're looking at what's our next 5-year plan. Our next 5-year plan is to get over 100 million. So that's
All right.
what, the community of businesses inside of PSA and all of our executive team, that's what we're driving for.
Are you in a cash raise right now? Are you on a road show right now to raise cash or no?
No, I've never done a road show or anything like that. That's
Okay.
not how I've always done it.
Okay. Okay.
I'll usually look to the bank to see what we could get out of our banking relationship,
All
and
right.
then we sort of grow it internal. And it's a struggle. I'm really not looking to give up a tremendous amount of equity in the company or having to work for somebody else because I think what the team has grown here is very special as an industrial here in the United States, and we
Yeah.
want to keep it that way.
So you would entertain cash from PE or VC, but you're not looking to give up control or anything like that for a big number.
No, I'm not looking for that.
Okay.
Would we have to raise capital for growth or acquisitions? Of course. I mean, I'd be lying to you hey, we want to get from 50 million to 100 million. Do I think I can do that without raising capital? That's a negative. I mean,
Well, okay, but yeah,
you're going to have to raise capital.
you're probably right. I just want to tell you that most people would say that to get from 1 to 50 million, which you didn't have to do. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's always easier as you scale as long as your vision stays supported.
Yeah.
But the capital demands when you drive from 100 employees to 200 employees,
Yeah.
just on a cash flow basis for stability of salaries,
Mm-hmm.
I think it behooves you to raise some money.
Yeah.
Because if you do hit a rough spot for a quarter,
Right.
or the economy gets lumpy for 2 quarters, how can you cash flow your way out of having a $2 million every 2-week payroll? That's a real struggle.
Yes, and I want to talk about whether or not the economy might be rough, but before we go there and get into what you see for the future, let's do a quick 3-minute elevator pitch on PSA right now for the listeners. And by the way, it's psasystems.com. Go for it, Mike. Tell the listeners what PSA does if you don't mind.
No problem, Steve. So PSA, we are a industrial automation company. So we specialize in robotic systems as well as custom equipment, anywhere from food and beverage through medical device, medical waste, and packaging. We also have a contract building section of our business. So we're actually doing contract builds for a bunch of people. And we have a pretty large scale machine shop. So we do machining projects, large machining projects, small machining projects, and we service all of our clients as well. So we do robot service, break fix service, all the way through that industrial relationship to our clients. So we'll do your engineering all the way through installation of your equipment, and then we'll do all the ongoing maintenance of your equipment for the life of that product.
Do you specialize in the food, beverage, restaurant service industry, or what are you targeting?
So we're mostly in, when I say food and bev, it's all large scale manufacturing.
Okay.
So it's large facilities, packaging, not too much raw food handling, mostly on the packaging side of food.
Okay. So you're, and for lack of the scientific terms, commoner language, you're helping build robots to package up things in warehouses that are tied to the food and beverage industry.
Correct. So in any part that you may, if you open say a case of water,
Uh-huh.
there was automation that put those bottles in that case, and then that case was palletized probably by a robot.
I
So
see.
we do all that handling. We're automating usually processes that are very difficult for a human to perform, or it's very difficult to staff inside of facilities.
Okay.
The misnomer of our robots are replacing all of workforce is that's sort of not true. Our robotic systems are replacing mostly staff that is underperforming, or there's better opportunity for that staff, whether it's a repetitive, difficult job to move them into a more rewarding opportunity in that workplace.
Okay. I think I heard you say you are the robotics that you deal with and put out into the marketplace either do a job that is very, very difficult that most humans can't do, or it's super repetitive and you can't find the people to do it. One of the two.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you think it's easy? Would you take a job where you have to palletize a 50-pound box all day long?
Yeah.
108 inches and 10 foot in the air.
Yeah. Right.
That's not great for a person to be doing. And also, we put that box on a pallet every 4 seconds. That's not a great use of human skill set.
Yep. So, all right. So you design and build the robot to go into the warehouse and do it. And you also service it, come out, fix it, repair it, whatever.
Correct. Yeah. So we're a full service automation house. So we'll do all the engineering, all the programming, all the fabrication. We'll do the installation, and then we'll do all the service along the life
Okay.
of that product.
Okay. Do you do all the software too, or are you just the mechanical piece?
No, we do all the software too. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So we have a team of over 65 engineers here inside of PSA, from software, hardware, electrical, and mechanical engineers.
Okay. Very good. All right. And you said you're going to do 50 million. Are you targeting Fortune 500? Does it matter? Who's your target?
No, it doesn't really matter. It's anyone that's looking to make their facility more manageable.
Okay.
Let's be honest. It's our workforce challenges here in the U.S. is driving automation as well as throughput needs. If we want to control inflation, we need to try to make our products cheaper along the way. And having open jobs is not driving down the cost of things.
Mhm.
Automation can drive down the cost and try to control and help inflation.
Okay. All right, Mike, thanks for that overview on PSA. For the remaining minutes that we have for the podcast, I would like to ask you some 30,000-foot questions around AI and robotics and the market and what you see for the future, just because there's so much chatter about it and so many people making predictions and all kinds of stuff, you see on social media and in the press. I see everything. I see both ends of it, right. I'll see some people saying, oh my God, 50 to 60% of jobs eliminated, blah, blah, blah. We're all going to be on universal basic income. And then I see other people saying, it's all bullshit. And we'll create new jobs and it'll all be fine. And, I see everything in between. With regards to the future of work and human beings as it relates to not just the robots and the mechanical piece, but the AI and the laptop jobs. You're in it, Mike. What are your predictions? What do you see, Mike? Talk to me.
I do think that AI and advanced systems are going to speed up our process and our business. Um, it's going, we're going to be able to virtually build a system and know if it works before we actually build it on the floor and have it fail and then have to fix it. That time is coming. The ability of an AI system to scour 20 years or 30 years of design to pick out the best design for a particular thing we may be working on is going to come. You're still going to need the machine builder that has 40 years of experience and the CNC operator with 44 years of experience to know how to put the parts together to make them better. But we're going to get to that process much faster. The ability to be able to program maybe verbally to a robot system will come. But I think it's going to help us. I think it's going to drive better jobs and more opportunity. But I think you have to be able to accept it and know that it's coming and not be afraid of it.
Okay, so what I heard you say was better jobs and more jobs. So this chatter from whoever you want to mention, all these AI guys, Elon Musk or whoever, I don't know, there's a bunch of them, all these people saying it's going to be universal basic income and a lot of people won't have to work. You do not see that in the future.
From this little side of Mike McHale here in Duryea, Pennsylvania, I don't see that. I'm obviously not Elon Musk, right? I I think the AI, in the banking system or in back of house support or accounting, I think that is going to interrupt a lot of jobs. But where there's disruption in jobs, there's always creations of jobs. So if you think about, and I can't remember the exact stat or the exact date, but what is the only career that was listed in like the 1920 census that's not listed today? Of all the careers you could have out there, what's the only job not listed from the 1920 census versus today?
Yeah, I don't know. A wagon maker, a covered wagon builder. I don't know.
An elevator operator.
Oh,
because technology advanced that. But if you're looking at 100 years of evolution and 100 years of technology, all those things still exist. They just exist in a different way.
Yeah, but aren't we moving much faster now? I mean, the pace is.
Well, I think
definitely.
what's the pace average at 10 times per year versus
Yeah.
past? It is going to be faster, but you have to adapt to it. You can't be
Okay.
afraid of it. You can't put your head in
Totally
the
agree.
sand and pretend
Totally
like
agree.
it's not going to exist. It's going to exist. You better figure out how you're going to work with it, deal with it, and use it for good. Because the individuals and the companies that figure out ways of using it for good are the ones that are going to excel into the future. And listen,
Yes.
maybe Elon Musk is right, and we get a real problem on our hands. But I don't think an AI system can't weld a piece of steel to a piece of steel. A human still has to do that. Can AI fix your toilet at your house or put a receptacle in at your house? You're still going to need skilled trades to be able to build or do anything.
I hope so. I hope you're right, my friend. There's two things that worried me over the last 24 months. The two biggest things that had me concerned. Number one, the first time I used ChatGPT, I kind of had a holy shit, like, oh wow, all right, yeah, this is
Yeah,
this
no
is a
doubt.
game changer.
Yeah.
And then I saw the YouTube video of the Figure One robot,
Mhm.
where he's putting the dishes in the thing and handing the guy the apple and everything and talking to the guy. And those two events, I definitely, it got my attention.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think you have to adapt. Um, think about how your business has been different, how you've
Yes.
changed your business,
Oh my gosh, yes.
year over year. I mean, did you have LinkedIn 10 years ago that
Right.
you did most of your executive searches? You had
That's
Craigslist and the paper.
that's right.
Well, now you have LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
I actually fired is the wrong word. We separated from two of our contract recruiters that would not use the AI tools that we are implementing here at Riderflex. Because I'm like you. I tell people, and I've done lots of posts on this. I tell everybody, I'm like, look, you better grab a hold of these tools and learn how to use them and use them to your advantage and be faster, smarter, wiser, and more efficient with all these AI tools. Because if you don't, your competitor will, and they will crush you.
Absolutely.
Eh,
Yeah,
eh,
I see it. It's going to be but you can see it starting already. It's the haves and the have-nots. And
Yes,
unfortunately, that separation of the wealth separation and all the things that, everyone talks about in basic income, we're driving further and further to it, or I should say driving closer and closer to it.
Mm.
Um, but you need to adapt. And I
You
think
need to
every
adapt.
entrepreneur out there,
Yes.
if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a C-suite player, you better be able to look 2 years, 5 years down the road. And I think as a company, if you don't have a 1 year vision, a 3 year vision, a 5 year vision, a 10 year vision, you're probably gonna lose. Um,
I would,
and
yes, and I would add one more thing to that. You better make sure you're adjusting that vision about every 3 to 4 months based on what's happening in the market with the advancement of
yeah,
AI. You better pivot and you better change.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
listen, when I bought PSA, it was to be a robot company. Today, we are an industrial. Um, so we've pivoted, we've changed, we've seen opportunities. I did not think we'd have, a very large machine shop like we have, or 6 full-time welders. That was not in the game plan even 36
gotcha.
months ago. So it changes.
Oh, sorry,
You
Mike.
know,
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry for that interruption. Go ahead.
yeah, no, no. I think everybody needs, you constantly need to be looking at your business strategy and your look ahead and modifying and changing as you go.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, just to summarize the AI piece, I think I'm an optimist too, right? I'm optimistic. I do want to encourage everybody on what you just said. Watch it, learn it, study it, use it to your advantage. Stay on top of things. You put your head in the sand, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be left
Yeah,
behind. Mike,
yeah,
I still, as a recruiter, right? I will still talk to candidates or clients they'll say things like, "Oh yeah, ChatGPT, yeah, I heard about it," or "Yeah, I tried it once," or whatever. I don't know about this, that. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, come on, man, like you better pay attention.
yeah. No, I think, yeah, but I think that's why that you're going to have such a separation in the success of companies
Yeah.
and entrepreneurs. The ones, the younger entrepreneurs are better at it than we are. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Hmm.
Um, it's more intuitive. Those entrepreneurs are going to be better entrepreneurs than we were, because they're going to have more tools and be able to scale things faster
That's
than
true.
we could have ever thought of.
That's true.
So, as an older entrepreneur, and, the statistics, if you look at most successful entrepreneurs, are in their late 40s and 50s. It's when you have enough experience to know, how to control the company. Well, with AI,
Yeah.
you're going to be sucking that information back way faster, and AI is going to tell you, "No, Mike, this is a terrible idea.
That's right.
Steve, do this, not that." That's going to be the question: is when does AI, when you throw in, "Hey, I'm thinking about pivoting my business from this to that,"
You could do
and
that now.
and
You could, yeah,
yeah,
now,
but
now.
but at some point, ChatGPT will be so good that it'll be able to say, "No, that's a terrible idea. 25,000 people searched that yesterday, and you're already late." Like that,
It's true.
that
It's
day's
true.
probably coming.
Oh, my friend, it is. I could talk to you for another hour on this topic. PSAsystems.com. Um, Mike McHale on LinkedIn as well. I'm assuming you take LinkedIn connections if they want to reach out to you. Don't
Yeah,
know for
yeah.
sure.
You reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Um,
Michael McHale.
Yeah, it's Michael McHale on LinkedIn. Mike, congratulations, man. I mean,
Appreciate it.
you're a humble guy. I don't think you know the fact that you went from 1 to 50 million after purchasing a company and have not had to raise cash. I mean, really, man, it's a major accomplishment. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
appreciate it. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, you bet.